Hi, John here. I'm going to talk today about God breathed and what does it mean, and related questions too, like what does God breathed means in terms of how I should read the Bible. In search of answers to these questions, I did what I so often do these days. I went on the net and asked Google to tell me what God breathed means and how this may impact how I read the Bible. I knew I was in trouble when I saw that this seemingly simple set of questions revealed millions of links. And of course, none of them agreed with each other, and almost all of them told me more about the beliefs of the authors than anything of worth about the phrase God breathed. Still, upon reflection, some prayer time, some engagements with others, I've come to the following, albeit tentative conclusions, about the phrase God breathed, and I'm going to be bold enough to share some of these with you. For many years, multiple translations of the Bible did the following quote, all scripture is inspired and profitable for reproof, for correction, for training in righteousness, that the man of God may be adequate, equipped for every good work. And this, of course, comes from 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 16. That interpretation, inspired, simply didn't seem to do the job. And so now almost all recent translations of the Bible say God breathed rather than inspired. And I think that's the one that makes more sense anyway of what was trying to be said there. I think they were trying to say more than that some men or some women were inspired to write a book or two for the Bible. They're meaning that there's something mysterious has happened. There's something like maybe what takes place when we take the bread and the wine in the communion. It's a union of something there. The only place this phrase appears in the Bible is 2 Timothy chapter 3 verse 16, which few scholars today attribute to Paul. Most agree it is the work of someone who borrowed the authority of Paul in the early church to write this epistle. I know many conservative Christians refuse to believe this is so, and personally it's not a burning issue with me. The New Testament from beginning to end is the product of the Roman church councils. They decided what would go in and what would be left out. There is much evidence that they edited many of the books that did make the cut. We must remember that there were far more books left on the cutting room floor than were let into the canon by these men of the 3rd and 4th century, Roman Church. So there's no doubt that these men, these church bureaucrats, had to be every bit as God-breathed as those who took pen to parchment and wrote their gospels, epistles, and end-of-the-world forecasts. Without their effort, there quite simply would be no New Testament, no good news. What God breathed does not do is defend a peculiar latter-day way of reading the Bible, that is, as a literal, inerrant text. The Bible does not teach or say one word about the need to read passages, say like God walking around a garden in the cool of the evening, to have this read literally. God-breathed does not mean God mysteriously authored a science or history textbook, or that God supports stoning misbehaving children, or ever supported such barbarian parental practices. It does not demand of the reader that he leave behind what he or she has learned about the universe from centuries of science. It does not force us to question the theory of evolution based on passages drawing from Genesis. It does not demand of me that I treat my wife differently from the way I wish to be treated. It can't be used as a justification for homophobia, sexism, conservatism, liberalism, socialism, fundamentalism, and so on. The purpose of the Bible is to make men and women fit, worthy of inclusion in the kingdom of heaven. The Bible is about winning souls, minds, hearts. It's about teaching spiritual truths about God, about the relationship of man and God, about how to equip ourselves for our eventual inclusion into the Godhead, or more traditionally, heaven. To state the Bible is God-breathed is to state the living Spirit of God, the Logos, the Sophia, is present in every word, phrase, sentence, poem, hymn, story, parable, epistle found in the library of two faith communities, the Hebrew and Christian, we call collectively the Bible. But this Spirit is mute, till it meets a spirit-filled seeker or saint who sincerely wants to discern the spirit of the text. Without this union between spirit-filled text and spirit-filled reader, the text of the Bible is no more God-breathed than the text of a Superman comic. The union of spirit-filled text and spirit-filled readers does not confer on anyone the right to speak infallibly for God. As long as we wear human flesh, we will never transcend the weaknesses inherent with a finite mind. The finite will never fully comprehend the infinite. What the God-breathed Bible reveals to the spirit-filled seeker and saint is the saving message that, quote, the Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. Peace to all of you.